Welcome back to another edition of Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Tonight we'll be talking some Marquette women's volleyball, men's soccer, and finally some women's basketball. So get ready because this edition of Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Good evening, Marquette. I'm Zoe Comerford.
And I'm Tyler Peters. This past week, the Marquette women's volleyball team played in 2 matches, and the Golden Eagles traveled to Villanova on Friday night for a battle with the Wildcats, winning that match 3-1. The squad then went to South Washington, D.C. for a matchup with the Georgetown Hoyas, winning that game in straight sets. We now want to send it over to Dan and Zoe in the Safe House. Take it away, guys.
Welcome to the Safe House, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome in to the show one of our volleyball analysts, Dan Abington. Dan, it's a pleasure having you on tonight.
Zoe, it's always great to be here.
Well, Marquette continues to dominate the fall campaign. Dan, what takeaways did you have from this weekend for women's volleyball?
Well, overall, I thought it was a fantastic weekend for the volleyball team, but they dropped their first set to a Big East opponent other than Creighton when they dropped the first set to Villanova. They came back, though, and won the next 3 sets and took that one in 4 sets, but their hitting was abysmal in that first set, and it was something that Coach Tice really needs to work on with his team because their defense was on point in that game, but their offense just wasn't until the second set, and you can't start out slow like that, especially if you want to have some success in the NCAA tournament. And then against Georgetown, it was just an utter domination by Marquette. I mean, Georgetown couldn't even return some of the points. I mean, there was one close set. It was 26-24 in the second set, but in the first and the third, Marquette just dominated.
So do you think the offense is why the offense was why Marquette struggled in the first set against Villanova? Was there lack of offense?
I think so. I mean, this Marquette team is built on offense. Their defense has been something that's been steadily improving as the season's gone along, and their offense has been steady the entire time. So the offensive troubles were kind of the reason why they had a down set against Villanova, but I think they were able to pick it up really quickly.
And sophomore Hope Wirtz had 8 aces in that game against Villanova. What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, she almost had a triple-double in that one. She had 11 kills, 10 digs, and 8 service aces, which is kind of unheard of, especially because Wirtz is number 7 in the nation in service aces. The record for the record for 3-set volleyball getting aces is 15. So I thought she might have had a record there, not even close. But regardless, it was a fantastic game from Hope Wirtz, and she needs to keep that up. Coach Tice described her as the X factor for this Marquette team. So seeing her have such a fantastic game is promising.
That's very exciting. Looking ahead for volleyball, the team hits the road again with matches against the Butler Bulldogs and Xavier Musketeers this weekend. What do the Golden Eagles have to do to ensure another successful weekend?
They simply need to play some team volleyball. That's something that I've been saying all year long. A couple games this season, they've had success in certain parts of the game, like they've had great attackers or great defense separately, but they need to get everything together. It needs to be great sets, great attacks, great defense, great serving, and in order to win these 2 games this weekend, that's what they need to do. I mean, it's kind of an easy weekend for Marquette, being the second best team in the Big East. Xavier and Butler aren't really the best teams, so I think Marquette should come out with 2 wins, but it shouldn't be all that easy.
So are you predicting 2 sweeps, or?
I think so. That's something that we've seen all season long from Marquette, but I don't want to jinx anything, but that's what I'm going to think.
All right, so finally, with the regular season beginning to wind down for the Golden Eagles, in your opinion, Dan, who has been the MVP of this team?
Well, Zoe, that's a tough question because the obvious choice is Allie Barber. I mean, she's the returning Big East player of the year, and she's expected to repeat this year, but I don't think that she can be determined as the MVP of the team just because you know that you're going to get steady performance out of her. So I think there are a lot of other players that qualify, but I think Martha Canavada would be my choice. She's been all over the place. Her defense has just been incredible. She's one of the scrappiest players I've ever seen out on a volleyball court, and she's been diving all over the place, making one-handed digs, and it's just something that you never see from a player on Marquette's team. So the fact that Martha's playing so well defensively I think she has to be the MVP.
For sure, and I definitely see her diving all around the court every time she plays.
Yeah.
And then how do you think the freshmen kind of add to this already experienced team?
They've been playing phenomenally recently. Ellie Kuntz, Katie Shesso, and Claire Mosier, the 3 freshmen, have all been playing really, really well. Shesso came in a couple games ago against, I forget who the opponent was, but Anna Hawk was out, and Shesso had to come in, and they had to adjust their style of play. They had to play more defensive volleyball, and it worked out for them. They got a 3-set sweep, and Shesso was instrumental in that. And Ellie Kuntz recently against Georgetown, she almost got in double-digit kills. And she's a left-handed opposite hitter, so she kind of needs to adjust things. There's nobody else on the team that's left-handed, so she's a bit of a change offensively for Marquette, and it's been working out really well so far.
For sure, and having those young players on this experienced roster, having Jenna Rosenthal, Anna Hawk, Abby Julian graduating, how do you think Coach Tice, do you think he needs them to step up?
They're absolutely crucial. Next season is going to be really interesting, losing Jenna Rosenthal and Anna Hawk. So they need players to fill in a couple of those different spots. Elizabeth Orff, a sophomore, is going to be stepping into Rosenthal's spot. That one's known, but we don't know who's going to replace Hawk. So I think Shesso and Ellie Kuntz getting some time now is going to be instrumental next season.
For sure. And where do you think they're going to end up, Marquette volleyball, this season, at the end of the season?
I think they're going to take home the runner-up spot in the Big East. Creighton's just dominant. Creighton is incredible. They're a 5-tool team. You can't really beat them. So I think they're going to take the runner-up spot in the Big East. And I think hopefully Sweet 16 for the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's very exciting. All right, we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll be discussing men's soccer and their run through the postseason. Don't go anywhere, because Golden Eagle Sports Report will be right back. Welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report. Once again, I'm Zoe Comerford.
And I'm Tyler Peters.
Before we dive into postseason action, let's take a look at how the Golden Eagles clinched a berth into the Big East Championships. They played a match against DePaul on Wednesday night, a match that had a little extra meaning to it. Chris Reisner has the story.
Revenge is sweet.
First post! White! Yeah!
But head coach Louis Bennett won't admit that.
They were just our next opponent.
Last season, the DePaul Blue Demons ended Marquette's hopes of clinching a berth in the Big East Championships when they defeated them in the last regular season game. On Wednesday, Marquette returned the favor, eliminating the Blue Demons from playoff contention with a 2-0 victory thanks to goals from Lucas Sunison and Grant Owens.
It was really good work from Diego. Diego was able to win the ball back in transition, and it was just all about positioning of our whole defense. We were pretty solid, and we were able to counter and score.
DePaul had some chances of their own. But just couldn't convert. Marquette earns a 4 seed in the Big East playoffs and will host Xavier on Saturday.
Mission accomplished. You know, I think we did what we needed to do. We needed to rest. We needed to keep some players out just for and only play them for limited minutes. The aspirations for this program was to step by step to get into the tournament and to get a home game if we couldn't win it. And I'm really proud of these guys.
Reporting from Valley Fields, Chris Reisner, Marquette Wire Sports.
On Saturday night, the men's soccer team hosted the Xavier Musketeers in the quarterfinals of the Big East Championship. The squad is headed to the semifinals for the first time since 2013. The Golden Eagles will face the top-seeded and number 14 team in the country, the Creighton Blue Jays, Wednesday in Omaha, Nebraska. Our own Jack Phillips was on hand to recap the action.
Single elimination, win or go home. The Big East Championships began Saturday night at Valley Fields as the number 5-seeded Xavier Musketeers visited the number 4-seeded Marquette Golden Eagles. After almost 3 hours of hard-fought play, the Golden Eagles, led by junior captain Luca Perpa, emerged victorious.
As a team, we've done really well every time they've come here. And yeah, my goals have been a result of that, and I'm thankful for the team. And yeah, it's hard to put in words, but it's unbelievable to do it at our home field in front of our fans. There was a bunch of alumni out tonight. They made the atmosphere great for us, and yeah, I mean, you could see with our celebrations at the end what it meant to us, so it's unbelievable.
Marquette played their first postseason match since 2014, and the results couldn't have made head coach Louis Bennett more pleased.
I love football, I love soccer, but the penalty shootout is never enjoyable. And our guys just were resilient. I thought they did a fantastic job. When someone did, I think, what did we miss? 2? And the lads went back, pumped up their chest, and the next guy came out.
With the Golden Eagles advancing to their first Big East Championship semifinal match since 2013, the squad will look to continue their momentum as they prepare to face the number 1-seeded Creighton Blue Jays.
Probably need to stop them scoring and score one more. And the way that they play, we're going to have to weather some storms, and then we're going to have to, take Creighton, take some chances of our own. We have learned a lot, but they are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. We have some work to do. They'll get a day off, and then we'll start working on the how, where's, and what's.
From Valley Fields, Jack Phillips, Marquette Wire Sports.
I'm pleased to welcome in one of our show's men's soccer analysts, Maddie Adams. Maddie, it's a pleasure to have you on with us.
A pleasure to be here.
What did you think of the PK finish against Xavier this past Saturday?
It was a great game. It was a long game, but it came out worthwhile for Marquette. The score was 2-1 Marquette in the 82nd minute, so they were nearing the end, but then Xavier came back and scored to tie it up 2-2. It was a very physical game with three yellow cards getting handed out, 1 to Marquette's Luca Perpa and the remaining 2 to Xavier players. Both of the overtime periods both teams were very resilient, and obviously there was no scoring in either of those. And then when it went to the PK shootout, it took 9 shots from either team to end the game.
How vital has senior goalkeeper Luis Barraza been for this Golden Eagles squad so far this season?
He's been a critical component for the team for the whole season. He was awarded Goalkeeper of the Year in the Big East, so obviously that goes to show. And he had a lot of critical saves in the past couple of games, so it's very exciting to see him doing well.
And I believe he's also number 2 in the nation in save percentage as well, so I'm sure he has pro aspirations once he's done with his final year here at Marquette. How is the atmosphere at Valley Fields different for this match compared to other matches throughout the season?
I think in any sport, postseason play is just different. The fans had big contributions to this win. They were very behind the team, and the team, you could tell, fed off of the fans for sure. Obviously,
there were a lot of players that contributed to Marquette's success in that game on Saturday, but who do you think was the MVP of that match?
If I had to pick a player, I would obviously pick Leo Villa, who was the person who scored the winning goal in the PKs. He was the 9th shooter, and that goal, if he made it, they won. If he didn't, it was going to continue. So I think that was obviously a main part of the game.
And then what have you seen differently for the Marquette Golden Eagles from the beginning of this season towards the end of this season? They've gone really on a tear here What have you seen in terms of differences or adjustments that they've made? And then what have you seen from like specific players? Because I know Luca Perpa, he's been on a tear lately. So just give me some insight on that.
Yeah, obviously Marquette's been doing really well at the end of the season and obviously now going into postseason. I think it comes with time, but obviously they've been doing really well offensively. I think that in upcoming games they're going to need to focus more on the defense, so hopefully they can change that. And I think if you had to pick out a few players, obviously, like you said, Luca Perpa and Luis Barraza would stand out to me.
What have you been thinking of Lucas Sunesson so far this season? As he's a freshman, but he's scored 5 goals this season so far. What have you been thinking of his play?
Yeah, in the beginning of the season, he showed how well he was going to do by scoring goals right in the beginning of the season. And then since then, he's maintained great contributions to all of the games. And I think that the fact that he is only a freshman shows that he is going to improve even more. And so it's really exciting to see what he's going to grow into. All
right, well, we appreciate your insights, Maddie. Thank you for being on with us.
Thank you.
Lastly, what do you think Marquette will need to do in order to take down Creighton, the #1 seed in the Big East?
Yeah, so with Creighton being such an amazing team, I think that Marquette really needs to focus on defense, preventing them from scoring, and then building an offensive attack, and the goals will come from there.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking women's and men's basketball, so don't go anywhere because Golden Eagles Sports Report will be right back.
Basketball season is upon us. In less than 24 hours, both the men's and women's team will open up their regular seasons at home.
The women will host South Dakota State Jackrabbits at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow at the Al McGuire Center, and the men will play the regular season opener against the University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yes, Tyler, that is the same UMBC team that #1 seed Virginia lost to last year in the NCAA tournament.
Indeed it is, and now the seasons for each team officially start tomorrow, but each team took part in an exhibition match last week.
And the women's team may have gotten a little more than they asked for during their game against Division II Grand Valley State.
That's right, Zoe. Marquette was the heavy favorites in what many thought would be a warm-up game for the Golden Eagles. Then the game ended up going right down to the wire. Shane Hogan was on hand to recap the action.
Last Thursday night, the Marquette women's basketball team opened up their 2018-2019 campaign with an exhibition game against the Grand Valley State Lakers. The Golden Eagles were stunned in an upset by a Division II school by a score of 77-75. Marquette only had the lead late in the fourth, but quickly surrendered it when Cassidy Bunch scored with 4.9 seconds to put the Lakers up by 2. Despite the loss, there were some bright spots for the Golden Eagles. Danielle King led the team with 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Danny took over. You know, we needed her to, and she stepped up and she rose to the occasion. So I give her a lot of credit. I thought she was the one who was actually locked in the entire game and played Marquette basketball.
However, that effort wasn't enough for the Golden Eagles to hold off the 13th team ranked in Division II. Cassidy Bunch had a game high of 28 points.
Cassidy is a monster down low, and I give her a lot of credit. She could play pretty much anywhere in the country. She's very, very good.
Marquette will try to use this disappointing loss to get them ready for their regular season play.
I'm glad they gave us a game. Honestly, we needed that, you know, and that's what exhibitions are for. You get showing your weaknesses, and we got 4 days to fix it.
From the Al McGuire Center, I'm Shane Hogan, Marquette Wire Sports.
Now we welcome in women's basketball analyst Nicole Talahach to get some insights on this team.
Thanks for being here tonight, Nicole.
I'm glad to be here. Always happy to see you guys.
Thanks so much. So first off, how were you surprised that the women's team with Big East championship hopes lost to a Division II team?
It was definitely shocking, not only for me and the coach and the fans, but I think the team was shocked as well. They came off such a great season last year, and they have incredible players. Alizé Blockton, arguably their best player. If she scores 19 points in the upcoming games, she will hit her 2,000th point, and she will be the first player, male or female, in Marquette's history to do that.
That is very impressive.
What were your takeaways from this game? What went wrong exactly for the Golden